Hi guys! Okay, so my parents and I were magicians and I was homeschooled. And I think I mentioned in a different video that we did a children's television show for about 4 years back in North Carolina, which is where I'm from. And this is actually a story that took place during the last year of filming that show. I was on set and it was around Christmas time, and the station manager came up to my mom and goes, "Hey, do you think Angela would be interested in co-hosting a live call-in show where kids could call in to the guy who's playing Santa?" I mean, let me tell you, this guy was not the real Santa, because this guy had a very, very thick accent. You could not really understand him. It sounded so much like if the villains from The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle went to go get Christmas jobs. Very difficult to understand. The station manager's hope was that, I could be there to kind of add a little bit more energy to the show. So my mom said, "I don't know, I'll ask her." Long story short, I did end up embarking on the adventure of doing live television. Wow, let me tell you, it was such a different dynamic. I mean, you would think that performing on stage or something like that would be about the same as doing live television, but believe it or not, it isn't. When you're performing on stage, or at least in my case, I mean, it's different if you're doing improv, but for magicians, we get to rehearse and we have a story and everything's, right in place, and you can pretty much gauge the crowd to know if there are some people who are going to be potential hecklers, and you have maybe 2 or 3 responses in your head for what to say to them. But with live television, I was so dependent on the calls that everything was unpredictable. So there really wasn't a great way to prepare for that. And of course, doing taped television, if something goes wrong, you could just yell "cut" and go again and take the scene again. But with live TV, wow. I mean, you are broadcasting to everybody. So it makes it very difficult. But I don't know, there was something sort of exciting about it. For some reason, it reminded me of like taking the DeLorean back to the 1950s and back in the era when everything was live, and just all the energy that is around from the crew and the director and all of that. There's a much different energy than if everything's pre-taped. So it makes it really exciting to be a part of. But anyway, before we did the show, we actually did 3 sets of 1-hour shows. And before that, I did the costume fitting and everything, and my mom's going, "Oh, no, too short." So she vetoed the length of the skirt. Sadly, there wasn't enough time to alter the costume appropriately. Gotta give it up for Mom. She made me wear a second skirt that was much longer underneath the dress. But yeah, so the show itself was very interesting. Most of the people, thankfully, that called in were little kids who had their Christmas lists all ready for Santa, and it was so fun getting to talk to them and pass them off to the guy who was playing Santa. But I will say, we did get a few crank calls, and that made things very scary. It's gave me this whole new appreciation for celebrities and what they go through on a daily basis and how they deal with hecklers. And I'm just in such admiration for the ones who deal with the hecklers so gracefully and graciously. And it always amazes me how people will treat celebrities, and they just pawn it off like, "Oh, well, they're celebrities, they should just expect being treated a certain way," or something. And it really breaks my heart, because I don't think that just because someone's job puts them in the spotlight that they should be treated any differently than you'd treat some random stranger you ran into on the street. I mean, it's like, would you go up to a random stranger and say, "Ooh, can I have your autograph?" Or, "Ooh, can I take a selfie with you?" or ooh, can I give you a great big bear hug? You know, I mean, that's stuff I would never think of doing. And you know, I don't know, maybe some people would do that to strangers, but yeah, I don't know. Personally, I think that celebrities deserve their respect and their personal space. But anyway, that's a rabbit trail for another day. But anyway, yeah, the show was definitely different. But it was fun to get to be a part of that energy. And yeah, so when it was over, I went back to just doing my thing and working with the show that my parents and I did, which was pre-taped, thankfully not live. And so, funny thing though, about 6 months later, I was in this group of new friends, fairly new friends, that I had met, all teenagers, you know, from like 7th grade all the way through 12th grade was the age range of this group. And it was so funny, we were all on a trip together, and one of the high school seniors goes, "Hey, I know you were on that show like 6 months ago, that live call-in show." And at first I was kind of embarrassed, thinking back to the costume I was wearing and everything, and I just sheepishly go, "Yeah, that was me." And even though I was embarrassed, I didn't realize that it actually created this great springboard for conversation, and it provided this great way that we all sort of bonded, as ironic as it sounds, because we got to start talking about, you know, oh, so that's your interest. What are your, you know, what are their interests? And it was just really great to know that something that I thought was kind of sheepishly embarrassing was something that somehow connected with them. So that was really special. And so I guess the lesson that it taught me, which I'm still trying to learn, by the way, is to just let it go and lighten up a little bit, and to not take myself too seriously. And so hopefully I'll eventually learn that lesson. We'll see how that goes. But anyway, until the next video, see you guys later. Bye.